Welcome back to Path to Glory, the Warhammer Underworlds podcast that focuses on competitive gaming, player development, and community growth. This episode was made possible by our patrons. Thanks to everyone who supports us. If you're interested in supporting the podcast monetarily, please check us out at patreon.com/path to glory. If that's not possible, we still appreciate the listens and the ratings. This is Aman Khusro, and as always, I'm joined by my menace of a co-host, Jonathan Davis.
Hello.
How's it
Not a
going?
silent menace, but
No, you're quite vocal with your opinions.
how you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's Monday. I'm tired. A lot of
Yeah.
work to do. A lot of
Yeah.
work yet to do. So
Absolutely.
I don't know if you can see the bags under my eyes, but didn't get much sleep last night.
Well, hopefully this silent card set will be interesting. Keep you awake.
I think it is. I think there's some good cards in here, which
Yeah.
we'll get to. So, as Jonathan mentioned in today's episode, we will be covering the Silent Menace deck expansion, the first pre-constructed deck to ever hit the shelves of Warhammer Underworlds. However,
Yeah.
we'll also be covering some Underworlds news, and we've got a couple patron questions as well. We didn't give them much notice, but they're solid ones. So, Jonathan, I know you've got some news to share, so why don't you share it?
Sure. Um, the first thing here is that we wanted to mention again that there will be a Grand Clash style Underworlds event at Frontline Gaming's Lone Star Open on July 24th and 25th. I'll be TOing the event, which should be a lot of fun. And you can sign up now. So go ahead and do that. I'm sure we'll talk about it more as we get closer to the event. There's not any official prize support, but we'll have some custom prizes for you. So more info on that later. And Frontline will be following all the safety guidelines needed for a safe event. So, if you feel safe, then come down and play. So there's also discounted hotel blocks. So that's always good.
Yeah, in order for the event to run, we need a certain number of people to sign up. So please sign up. We'll be there. We're gonna have some fun. We'll be drinking. So join us for some merry
Yeah.
Underworlds fun.
Yeah. The more ticket sales, the sooner the better. So,
Right on.
yep.
Okay. Well, I wanted to jump to the Warhammer Underworlds roadmap that was shared way back in the day. Um, as you can see, Mad Mob have already come up for pre-order. They're releasing this Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and the Canaan's Reapers, which are right around the corner, they're going to be releasing in this month as well, if they stick to the schedule, which they have so far after the amendment. So that's been pretty exciting. Um, I'm pretty excited for this warband. They've got 6 fighters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. Obviously, one is Kanan. He's a big boy. He's got a big axe. And then we've got our first Ossiarch Bone Reaper with a bow. We've got a really cool dude holding a spear and some sort of magical cube. And then your run-of-the-mill Ossiarch Bone Reaper guys. So pretty excited to see this aesthetic and this faction finally hit Warhammer Underworlds. Long time coming for them. As well as a bunch of others this season. So I feel like Direk hasn't really hit all the high points here. Really, there was no way it could fail with all the really cool warbands that came out. So, really happy to see that. Any thoughts that you want to share on this warband?
No, I mean, I think they look great. I'm excited to see how they function. It's an interesting collection of miniatures. Um, so yeah, I've always liked the aesthetic a lot ever since they came out. So.
Yeah. Well, if you reference the article that dropped on the 16th of March earlier this year, we'll see
Mm-hmm.
that Kanan is actually a Mortisan executioner, and this is the first time this miniature has ever been displayed in the mortal realms.
Hmm.
So, I expect that if you're an Ossiarch Bone Reaper player, you're gonna want to buy this set just for him alone. So pretty cool,
Yeah.
pretty cool stuff. But that's not all. If you
No, it
notice
is
in the
not.
roadmap, there's one more warband that's slated for June, and in June, we have been shown the new warband, Elathane's Soul Raid. They were shared on Warhammer Fest, which happened all last week. This was on day 4 on the Boxed Games Day, where they showed Underworlds, Necromunda, and Aeronautica Imperialis. I highly recommend you watch the Aeronautica Imperialis video because it's a great troll and it's really funny. And I got a good laugh, and I loved reading the comments about people who were generally upset about it. It was fantastic. But
Yeah, I'll have to watch that.
you should, you should. It's freaking hilarious. If you've ever not heard of the Ideneth Deepkin, well, they are a bunch of elves that have daddy issues. So they ran away and hide in the darkest depths of the ocean. They can all breathe underwater, apparently. And when they travel to the surface, they can summon aether water with them. So they can breathe and they can bring a bunch of fish critters and other sea creatures along the way.
Mm.
Um, they also have an issue with like a majority of their population not being born with a soul. So in order for them to function, they actually have to go like attack and pillage and raid settlements of any race that have souls so they can steal their soul and put it in their people. So they have
Interesting.
souls. Yeah. Very interesting stuff. And so we have the final warband. It is well, the I guess a bunch of soul hungry elves. So they're called Elathane's Soul Raid.
Well,
And they're
really, it's a fish and then 4 other models. That's how I'm looking at it. But
well, yes. Yes. It just so happens that there is a fish and your nickname is Wigglefish,
it's true.
which I've
It's
always
perfect.
questioned why, but
I don't know, just a random thing that I picked like way too long ago, and then I just kept doing it. One of
you
those
are the
usernames
Wigglefish.
that one of those usernames you just stick with. I don't know. I think it has a nice ring to it as well. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's what fishes do.
it's what they do.
Um, yeah. So we've got Elathane Ill-Fated. He's the leader. He looks pretty cool. We've got
Yeah.
Furin, who's a infantry version of the Achelian Guard, which are like the eel riders. So we've never seen one without their eel before. So we're gonna have to ask her what happened to her pet, her mount. Um, Tamael is a he's one of those elves I mentioned earlier that are born without souls. So they don't look really like elves. They look like ghostly elves or like
Hmm.
specters. And then I think the highlight of the group, much to Jonathan's chagrin, is Claw, who is
Hmm.
a crab. He's
Very
literally a
cool
giant
model.
crab.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool little mini there. So
Yeah, it's an amazing miniature, and it has already taken the internet over by storm.
yeah, there's been some fun memes already. So
My favorite one was Mortal Realms Crabnose instead of Cragnos, which is coming out.
interesting.
And then of course we have the spinefish, which you know if you watch the video, you'll like you do like little previews of like or like highlights, but then there's like smoke obscuring most of the card.
Yeah.
But you know if you like brighten it, take a screenshot and you brighten it, you can see a lot of it. A lot of people have been doing that lately on the interwebs, and they
Yeah.
found some really cool and nifty rules about the warband. We're not going to share anything about this warband until it's time to review them, or until at least they do a preview. So, uh, yeah, but be on the
Exciting.
lookout for that. Yeah, very
Yeah.
exciting. And then, Jonathan, did you mention the contest?
We did last time. We are continuing with our Mad Mob release contest. So send us your if any patrons want to send us their WOG, they can continue to do that up until the 15th, which is when the warband comes out. So and we'll take care of that warband purchase for you. So
That's right. And if you want to know what a wah sounds like, listen to our latest episode, where I
yeah,
think I wah at the end. I think I wah at the end
yeah.
of the Mad
I
Mob
think
like
you
2 episodes
just
ago.
yell WOG, wow, but louder.
Mm.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go watch the YouTube video and screenshot the face you made when you did that. So Very funny. And one thing I wanted to point out is actually this is our 50th episode. Um,
Yeah.
50th official episode. That's actually denoted with the Path to Glory title along
Yeah.
with it.
We've had some
If you
special episodes, I guess.
we did a lot of those, and in hindsight, we should have just probably made them all as part of
Yeah.
Path to Glory. Like at one point we did like Warband Wisdom and card commentary, but we're gonna just make all those part of our main episodes moving forward. So we have
Yeah.
67 episodes on Podbean and all other major streaming platforms, including Google, uh, Amazon, Spotify, Apple iTunes, and all that. But this is number 50 officially.
Yeah,
So
and
thank you.
I think it was just earlier this week that the we entered our third year of the podcast. So very cool.
So that means we've just had our 2 year anniversary.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ooh. Well, good. I'm glad. Obviously, couldn't have done this without the community, our patrons, and of course, one another. So,
Yeah.
thanks for working together, having each other's backs, and supporting our content because we sincerely appreciate it. I'm just gonna fix my
Yeah.
mic real quick.
Especially over the last year. It was tough to tough at times to keep it going. So really appreciate it.
Yes, we sincerely do. But without further ado, let's jump in to the Silent Menace.
Yeah. So the
So, go
this is
ahead.
cool because it's like its own deck.
In theory, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so first pre-constructed deck. This is my air quotes if you're not watching the video.
Yeah.
Um, so there's 12 objectives, 10 gambits, 10 upgrades. These were all previewed on Warhammer Community last Friday in the morning for us Westerners. The expansion is named after the Silent People. The Silent People are a race of intelligent insectoids who are in deep hibernation within the depths of the Dire Chasm and the Beast Grave. Um, as such, whenever our warbands or fighters are running around the terrain, they come across maybe their hidden treasures or weapons, armor, and loot, and naturally they keep what they find. Because why not? I never really thought about this, but like adventurers who find like cool stuff are just looting. So
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
just
There's
looting stuff.
there's probably not too much naturally occurring items in the beast grave. Yeah.
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 So
Just a lot of spikes and teeth.
yeah, and like chambers that are just filled with ooze that digest you. I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
how the mountain eats. But anyways, let's go on and jump into the card review. As always, I'll do the upgrades. Jonathan will jump on the gambits, and I will end things off with the upgrades. So, starting with Advancing Swarm. Score this in the end phase if 3 or more friendly fighters have 1 or more charge tokens for 1 glory. Thoughts, Jonathan?
I think this is okay, but it's not great because for one, it's one glory, and then if you lose fighters that have already charged, this can start being harder to score. And then in the later rounds, if you're losing fighters and you don't have a lot of fighters, this could be harder to score. Um, but it's reasonably scoreable for large to medium size warbands, I would say.
Yeah, I think if you have 6 or more or 5 or more, you could do this pretty reliably because
Yeah.
it's 3 or more. So if you have 5 fighters but 3 charge, you still
Right.
get it. Um, I really like this for the aggressive warbands in the game right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for me, I think I probably consider this a little bit more valuable than you do. Um, the interesting thing is that a lot of the 4 fighter warbands are looking to be in enemy territory and gain primacy. Even non 4 fighter warbands like Wild Hunt Despoilers in Morgok, like they all want to charge into your territory.
Yeah.
They all want to score multiple glory off being in enemy territory, making charges and killing, getting primacy. So for me, I think this is pretty solid. Yeah, it's 1 glory, but it's easy 1 glory. The only
Mm-hmm.
way you're not going to score this is if you lose, you know, more than 1 fighter. But by then the game is probably in the later stages of the game, And if you didn't draw this early and you drew it late, that means you draw your other cards early. So I don't really think it's that big of a deal personally. I think Wild Hunt also really, really like this card because they're going to just do this to inspire. So for me,
Well, they like it in the first round. They probably don't like it in the second or third.
yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm just always charging with Wild Hunt. Um,
Yeah, I guess I'm concerned about having 3 fighters alive in the third round. You know?
yeah, I just don't see this as an issue, honestly. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, if you draw in the third round, it's a dead card, but
yeah,
maybe not.
yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
I don't think it's awful. I'd probably give it like a B or a C somewhere in
yeah,
there.
I gave it a B, I think,
Okay,
but
yeah, yeah, that's fair.
I just like aggressive strategies more than you do. I think.
No, I think it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, either way, pretty decent card. Next one, Brutal Attrition. Score this in the end phase if the number of enemy fighters out of action is equal to or greater than the number of surviving friendly fighters for 1 glory. Ooh.
Um, I think for some warbands this is worth considering, particularly the 3 fighter warbands. Um, it's a bit of a meta call because if you're against another 3 fighter warband, then it's not great. But other than that, you probably won't see too much of it.
It's not a good card at all to me, in
Yeah,
my opinion.
yeah.
Um, Very difficult. A lot of conditions, dice dependent, matchup dependent.
If it was 2 glory, then I would say like it's worth it's worth it for some warbands to hold into the second round and probably score it
Yeah,
then. But
agreed.
for 1, it's a little slow.
Yeah, if this is 2 glory, you throw this on like a Hrothgorn or Malog or
Yeah,
really
especially when you
aggressive
can
deck.
just compare it to the next one. Like the next one's just better, and we have similar cards that are like both of these. You know.
Yeah. And the next one's
So,
not even that good in general, but
no.
I guess let's go to the segue. Next one,
Yeah.
Cold Blooded Killers. Score this in the end phase if 2 or more enemy fighters are out of action.
Yeah. I mean, this to me is sort of like the base level of like this card is playable. You probably can score it probably in the second round in most matchups. Um, Maybe not, in a meta with crushes dominating, but I mean, even against most everybody else, that this is reasonably scoreable. I think there are definitely better cards right now, but this is the sort of card that this to me is like the minimum requirement of playability for a card that I would even consider, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, like in theory, if you think about it, it's worth 3 glory because you get the 2 kills. Um,
See, I
but
never, I never think about cards that way. I feel like that's, I don't know, because I'm gonna get the kills either way. Like it's pretty rare that I'm playing the game and I'm not trying to get kills. So to me, it's
this just
really about whether or
incentivizes
not.
you to get kills, though.
Yeah,
Maybe you might not want to.
that's true. But I don't know. I've heard people say that use that as an example, and I've just never liked it. But
I was just
I don't
using
know.
that as to make this somewhat of a maybe you can take it.
Yeah.
I don't personally
No.
think that way. Um,
Okay.
but I know
But
some people do.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting, and it's possible that I'm missing something when they are thinking that way. But I've just thought that was interesting that I've never really thought about it that way.
The next card is Demolish the Opposition. Hybrid. Score this in the third end phase if there are no enemy fighters in enemy territory or there is no more than one surviving enemy fighter. 3 glory.
Yeah. So to me, the only thing interesting about this card is the first condition, um, and the current meta where it seems like there's a lot of glory for being in enemy territory. So this could theoretically be a counter to that strategy, but I think it's still probably a little bit too niche, and it's a third end phase card. How do you think about it?
Um. Yeah. So aside from countering the enemy territory stuff, um, I don't really think that this card is that good. And the reason I say that is because it's going to be really hard to not only make sure that they're all in your territory, but then there's like they're either all dead or there's one alive.
Yeah, there's a number of warbands where you just know that you're not going to score this, and then even the ones where you could score it, you might not, and then it's a third end phase, so it's going to slow your hand down. So I think that's enough reasons.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not really like. I think you could do this right. Like if I want to stretch the use of this card, I think it comes down to you're gonna play a hyper defensive, high damage warband that's gonna
Hmm.
hide in your territory, force the enemy to come to you because you can outscore them, out passive them, and then you have the tools to just murder them. Which I think is very rare. It can be
Yeah.
done. Like I think Crushes could do it maybe with the current card pool. I think maybe like a I don't know, like a aggro hold objective Grimwatch, maybe Lady Harrows. I think there's some options here, but I find it very difficult to do right now.
Yeah, I mean, because at some point, it's only a little bit easier than something like Annihilation. I guess there's a little bit of a meta call where, like, maybe if you're doing the Alliance format, maybe you know that you're going to be against, a small war band. Maybe you can count on maybe getting them down to one fighter. But I just feel like there's going to be better options. So it's interesting, though.
Yeah, I think the only reason this card is worth anything whatsoever is that first option.
Yeah.
Because like three glory is insane. You could maybe take some push cards that, like center of attention, pull them towards you, things like that. That could be fun.
If it wasn't
But
a
if
third end phase, I would like it more.
yeah,
But
that's my biggest gripe.
yeah.
Like if this was just any round, great, I'd take it. But too many qualifications and requirements on this card for it to unfortunately be efficient. So let's jump to the next one.
Yeah.
Forbidding Strike. Surge Duel for 2 glory. Score this immediately after an activation, which a friendly fighter's attack action took an enemy fighter out of action. If that was your first activation in this round, and that enemy fighter was holding an objective. What do you think?
This is a really interesting card. I think it's one of the first cards we've ever seen that requires it to be during a particular activation of the game. I don't think we've seen anything like that before. Um,
No, I don't think we have.
that being said, I think that what I don't like about it is that basically that means you have three opportunities to score it. And in most, I guess if you go second, you have three. But if you go first, you really only have two. um, So it's not easy to do. And then like if this card was just kill an enemy fighter on an objective, that would be kind of difficult. For two glory, it would be worth it, but it would for one glory like that would still be sort of niche. Um, so
Yeah, those
I'd
cards
say it's
exist
very
right
hard to
now,
do.
and they don't even see play.
Right.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is not a you don't play this card. If you're questioning it, like stop,
Yeah.
reassess the situation. This is a very very hard card to use, a very very inefficient card, and the 2 glory is a trap. Stay away from this card.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just very complicated. It's one of those cards where you want to like joke around and be like on a Tuesday with one hand behind your back, like it's so specific.
I just
Um,
can't even take it seriously, honestly. Like
yeah,
it's just not.
yeah.
Nope.
Let's
Next
go to the
one.
next one then.
Impending Doom Surge. Score this immediately after an activation if one or more enemy fighters are adjacent to two or more friendly fighters.
Yeah, um, I think this is a pretty good card. This is probably the first one that I think we'll probably see some of.
Yeah.
Like the first thing that it makes me think of is something like Gits, where you can just like scurry right at them or something. Um, but in general, there's a lot of pushes in the game right now, both enemy and friendly. And if you have a pretty solid number of fighters, maybe like five or more, I think this is a card you could at least think about. Um, so
Yeah. I
I like
mean,
this one.
exactly. So you can do like a charge and then a blindside.
Oh
Score
yeah,
this. You
yeah,
can do a Gits activation or whatever. You can do a Barclav push.
yeah. We just had
Um,
countercharge just came out, so you could use
yeah,
that in
you can
some
do
situations.
counter charge as well. So if you
Yeah,
want to stack in the cards and you have other uses for fighters ganging up on enemy fighters,
yeah,
then I think this is pretty decent. I don't rate it as high as I would maybe other cards because this
yeah.
requires power card support. Um, so it's not like a natural like good card. It's like this is good if you take cards to make it good.
Yeah, I
For
think there's a few warbands where it really kind of starts to stick out. Like I think I don't know how much synergy there is with the other cards in the pool right now, but like in a Hugging Thorns deck or something, this would be great.
I think it's
You
good with
know,
creepers too, because you get that push every turn.
yeah, yeah. And then
Yeah.
just, any warband with a lot of fighters, it's just pretty likely to be open, I think. So, I'd give it like a B probably. Like it's, you'd think about it, you know.
Yeah. I think I gave it a C in my review, but only
Yeah.
because
No,
you
that's
need multiple push cards.
it's probably a C in general, but then for the warbands that I would think about it, it would be like
Oh,
that
then it's a B.
sixth.
Yeah.
It would be like the sixth surge that maybe I take that, or maybe I take Bold Conquest, or maybe I take Branching Fate. Like it's one of those
I mean,
like.
if you're debating between these three, then pick another warband for your six
Yeah,
surge. Jokes aside,
yeah.
next card, Killing Strike. Surge for 1 glory. Score this immediately after an activation, which a friendly fighter's attack action took an enemy fighter out of action if that was your first activation in this round.
Yeah, so a lot like Forbidding Strike. Certainly easier to do because it doesn't have to be the holding an objective, but still probably too hard to take.
Pass.
Yeah. If this one, what
Marsh?
if? Would you even think about this one if it was 2 glory? It's still just
No.
too random, probably.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, it's too hard to
Yeah,
do.
if it was 3 glory, maybe. Um, Next card is Martial Adept Hybrid. Score this in the end phase if one or more friendly fighters each have 2 or more attack action upgrades, or one or more friendly fighters each have 3 or more upgrades for 1 glory.
Yeah, I think we've actually seen something very similar to this previously. Um,
Yeah, bristling with weapons and aggressive display.
yeah, yeah,
They both have the same. They both have the 2 or more attack action upgrades requirement on the card.
yeah. And then we've seen the upgrade stacking before. I think
Yeah.
the upgrade stacking is playable. I think we've seen like Rippas and Rothgorn and Mollog and warbands like that take these cards, so I think that's fine. I haven't ever, even in a weapons deck, I haven't found it to be worth giving one fighter 2 weapons. So it's interesting that that's a something that you can score glory off of. But so.
Well, bristling with weapons and aggressive display are both 1 glory for the
Hmm.
2. So you could take all 3 of these,
Yeah.
score 3 glory, maybe, and then bristling with weapons has the same other condition except it's a hunter card.
Mm.
So maybe if you can combine all 3 and you do like loaded with plunder and some other stuff, you can like stack a bunch of cards on a fighter, score like 5-6 passive glory, and then you can take that one upgrade which is like armed to the teeth or whatever,
Hmm.
and then you get benefits for like maybe you have a range 2 weapon and a range 3 weapon and your fighter has a range 1 attack. So you can have fun with it. I don't know if it's competitive, but the fact that it's an option seems kind of fun to me.
Yeah.
um, could be a very decent passive strategy as well. Maybe playing Eyes of the Nine or something, you want to hide in the back, and
Yeah.
then this is your passive glory, and then you just push your opponent into oblivion, which you can do that now. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. These are the kind of cards that like I'm glad they exist because every now and then you'll want to like use one to fill out your deck. Um, but it's probably a little niche.
yeah, I think there is something there though. I'll have to mess around with it and get back to you.
Yeah, could be.
Next card is Orchestrated Kill Surge. Score this immediately after a friendly fighter's attack action that takes an enemy fighter out of action if the friendly fighter had 1 or more supporting fighters for 1 glory.
Yeah. Um, I just have never really liked these cards very much. Um, I guess I could see if you're making a deck that, is also playing Impending Doom and maybe you're also like Thorns or Gits or something, maybe this starts being even just playable. But I think it's too much work.
Yeah, agreed. I think there are some universal cards that might be able to you can like score multiple cards off one activation, but
Yeah.
then you're always in that conundrum where like what if you don't draw them when you need them to? So
Yeah.
this right here is a tough card to score. Agreed. I
Yeah.
think I,
Yeah.
I think the surge, it being a surge is nice, but if it wasn't a surge, it'd be unplayable. So
Yeah.
the next one is a little bit more interesting to me. Promise of Destruction. Score this in the end phase if there are 1 or more persisting gambits. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Um, I like this one. I think I'm glad that it's here. I think that there would be some kind of build that uses a lot of persistent cards. I don't know if I don't know if we're there yet, but it's basically just a combo end phase card. I think you'd really need the persisting cards to be worthwhile. So I'd have to see if there was a deck that was taking like 3 to 4 persisting cards in it, um, and then to just see if I need a one glory card. But it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is really good with Wormspat and Starblast Stalkers
Could be.
because they have cycles and they have Astrums, and then I think like the vampires have a persisting ploy as well, and I think there are a bunch of persisting ploys in the game now, and there's some in this review that I
Mm-hmm.
think can be worth it. So if you're taking one or two, and you're gonna eventually score this card, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I like it.
Yeah.
I honestly like it. I really do.
Yeah, I guess the thing is, I don't think you build a deck around this card, but if you have a deck that you find that you have maybe, I'd say 3 is probably the sweet spot. Persistent cards, then maybe you take this one to fill out your objective deck. That's kind of how I look at it.
Agreed. Yeah. If it happens to slot in, it's gonna work out great.
Yeah, because there's not really anything that your opponent's going to do to stop it if your persistent cards are to the end of the round. So
Agreed.
it's pretty
And no
rare
one's
that
really
anything
taking
like
Mundane Razor either,
yeah,
anyways.
no one's going to remove persisting effects. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I really like the card art on this card.
yeah, it's really cool.
Freaking really cool. Next one is Stinging Strike. Surge. Score this immediately after an activation, which a friendly fighter's range 3 attack action was successful if that was your first activation in the round for 1 glory.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, just like the other ones, you only have 3 chances to score this. It is a lot better than the other ones because it just has to be successful. And if you're playing a warband with a lot of range 3, I guess you could think about it.
Yeah, I think this is the only card out of the 3 that I actually would consider
Mm-hmm.
because it's the easiest and only in 2 warbands. Maybe 3, but 2 warbands. Profiteers and Farstriders.
Mm-hmm.
You could maybe think of like a turret Hrothgorn build as well.
Yeah, well, probably the castigators.
Oh yeah, well
Yeah.
those attacks never hit for me.
But you're always going to shoot. Most likely, you're going to shoot in that first
First,
activation
yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
So
With those 3 warbands, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So this is something to consider. I think we can both agree it's not like the most efficient card in the world.
Yeah, because
But
most of the time it's going to be a 50-50. And then, unlike almost every other card, you don't have another chance to do it until the next round. So that's tough.
Yeah, agreed. Next one is Untouchable Swarm. Duel for 2 glory. Score this in the end phase if 4 or more surviving friendly fighters have 1 or more charge tokens, and no friendly fighters retain it out of action in this round. You tell me, buddy.
I mean, this is a terrible card. To the point where I don't even know if it's really even scoreable. Because you have to have 4 or more fighters with charge tokens, and none of them can have been taken out of action. So, like, if it was just the first part, then you would want to, maybe play it with Gits or something. But then, even then, if one of the guys with the charge token dies, then you can't do it. And then, if it was just the second part, maybe you'd want to play it in Crushes. But like then you don't have 4. So I don't know. I don't think there's any warband that is good at this. I think everyone is bad at this.
I don't think I've ever seen a game in which one fighter didn't die in the first round.
I mean, I'm sure it's happened, but it's like really rare. It's not something
and
that
I'd
you
like
can
to
rely
amend that
on.
to say like in this current meta.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
it's happened to all of us, but in this current meta, this is very, very rare. You're not scoring this card, bro.
yeah. No, there's no way you're gonna score
It's
this.
impossible. Maybe in like the next season, but not this one.
Yeah.
Not in Dire Chasm.
I mean, it's pretty hard to get 4 fighters with charge tokens on friendly fighters, because usually somebody with a charge token is gonna die.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Is like,
Yeah.
not only do you want to like have everyone survive, you want to like put them in the most risky position that they possibly can be in. Unless you charge 4 times, and you get 4 kills, and then they just charge you or counterattack and they miss,
Yeah.
you're not getting this. And if you do
Yeah.
that, you already won the game.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So there's just no point in at all. Um, so overall, that completes the 12 objectives in the deck. I will say that they seem a bit lackluster,
Yeah.
but that's not the reason why you're buying this pack. And we'll go over those reasons later, because those gambits and upgrades are pretty juicy.
Yeah.
But because we have to go through everything, we did. And Jonathan, do you have a favorite?
I think Impending Doom is my favorite. Yeah.
Impending Doom. Oh, that one. Yeah. Yeah.
Score if you have the two friendly
Yeah.
fighters. Yeah. Adjacent to
Yeah.
an enemy. Yeah. Yeah.
I think Advancing Storm is really good for this meta. Um, maybe not as reliable as I'm
Yeah.
assuming it will be, but I think it's pretty good. Um, I think from a design perspective, Promise of Destruction is probably really neat to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. I think we
I
could see a
love
little
that it
bit of
just
that one.
exists,
Yeah.
and I'm happy it's not a Surge
That's true.
because it'd be pretty silly.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be silly.
Okay, cool. Well, let's jump to the gambits, good sir. Take it away.
Alrighty. So the first one is Acidic Strike. It's a reaction. Play this after a friendly fighter's successful attack action. Pick one of the target's upgrades and discard that card. What do you think?
So this being a reaction, I think makes it significantly more viable than some of the other card breaking cards we've seen ever. I think like
Yeah.
there was like the sword for the Harrows, and then
Yeah.
the
Theirs
Grimwatch
is
have
an
like
action.
Scrabbling Claws or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I guess is pretty decent, but I think that's an upgrade, right?
Yeah. They actually have two ways. One of them I think is a no, one of them is a gambit, I think, that you play it as a reaction after an attack action, and you remove an upgrade from each or something like that.
Yeah.
I would say it's about on par with this one.
The reason I like this card is because it's a very charge aggro ish meta.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're trying to kill things and then your opponent is putting on stuff to make it harder to kill things, you can just react, destroy the thing that's stopping you from killing their fighter, and then you kill their fighter. And that's why I like this card in this meta. And I think it's pretty decent, actually. Pretty good in some cases.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot of I think there are so many good upgrades in the game right now that there's a lot of opportunities for this to like be worth it. There's also a lot of good ploys in the game right now, so
Mm-hmm.
it'll be hard to fit it, I think. But the other nice thing about it being a reaction is that there have been some warbands recently that want reactions for scoring. I think the Starblood
Mm-hmm.
Stalkers and the Mad Mob. So um,
That's a
that's
good point.
another good thing about it, I think. So
Yeah. I just like how you can like slap deserve confidence off somebody or a lost
mm,
pages or a gauntlet or a silent armor or a cryptic companion or like a um what's the one that gives Hrothgorn massive bulk?
yeah, yeah, that
Oh,
would be
your
great.
Hrothgorn has 2 wounds left with massive bulk. I destroyed your upgrade, he died.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Now I
true.
get 2 glory. Pretty nice to me. I think it's really neat. It's not going to see every deck, but when it comes out, you're going to be like, don't hit, damn, that sucked.
Yeah, it's a
So,
little bit of a meta call because like normally you would just want like another way to do one more damage or something. But if you know you're not going to get that kill because you have to it has to be a successful attack.
right.
If you know that everybody's so beefy that it's going to take a lot of attacks to get kills, then this starts to be better. So it'd be interesting to see if people can make it work.
Agreed. I will definitely try to make it work,
The next
and
one is
I'll piss
uh,
my opponents off.
yeah. The next one is Hidden Sting, also a reaction. Play this after a friendly fighter's successful range 1 attack action. If there were one or more crits in the attack roll, deal 1 damage to the target.
Yeah, this one reminds me of Grievous Riposte a lot, I think,
Yeah,
but
kind of.
like on the opposite way. That card just came back recently.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't really think rolling a crit in an attack roll is that rare. I think it happens a lot. I
Yeah, it
think
does.
you'll remember when it doesn't happen more than when you'll remember when it does happen. But that's just human nature. So if you actually look at it objectively, you're probably bound for this to actually happen while this is in your hand more often than not, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
I
some
would I
people
would say
have,
most attacks that succeed are crits.
yeah, I would say that. I mean, I can't, I don't know the math behind that, so I won't disagree with you. But I think for me, like, I don't think rolling a crit is hard. And I ran headshot in every single profiteer deck I ever played,
Yeah.
and I scored it in almost every single game.
Hmm.
And the times I didn't score it, it's because I just didn't draw it, really. So
Yeah.
I think this is really good for warbands who are looking for extra damage. Maybe score unexpected cunning or no unexpected pitfall.
Yeah.
Because this is ping damage. Um, you can take this with um, like a warband like Despoilers or Wild Hunt as well. Maybe Starblood Stalkers. There's that reaction synergy, and then
Yeah.
then secondly, maybe with like a punch up, you just wrecked your opponent. Killed a big fighter.
And we just saw another card come out that was effectively Pit Trap, I think, for Hunters and Quarry,
Yeah,
against Hunters and Quarry. And this is after the uh, attack action. So you could actually use all three of Snare and that one and this one um,
yeah,
on that attack. So that's a lot of ping damage, which is cool.
yeah. I love this with Godsworn as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
that's
really
true.
nice. It's not a bad card. I just the
No.
problem is that there's just you mentioned so many good gambits right now. You
That's
know,
true.
like
The other nice
like
thing to this is that this gets around guard in a way that Snare and the Pit Trap type cards can't.
yeah,
So I like that about it too. And looking at the math on a two smash attack, which is the less likely to crit, you'll crit 28% of the time, and you'll only succeed 59% of the time. So that's just about half. And then once you get more dice, you become more likely. So I think that basically more than half of your attacks are going to be crits, or they're going to fail. So
yeah. Well, either way,
yeah.
roll a critical.
The next one is Hypnotic Buzz. Choose one enemy fighter within 2 hexes of one or more friendly fighters. Push the chosen fighter 1 hex. So kind of like a worse distraction.
Yeah, so it's good because it
Yeah.
functions similarly to Center of Attention, which has the same range limitation,
Yep.
right? And that's a good card. So this is a good card. I think that this is not going to be your first distraction. You're going to take obviously distraction. You're going to
Right.
take Nightmare in the Shadows, and then you're going to take um, Mirror Move before you take Hypnotic Buzz. Maybe Mirror Move and Hypnotic Buzz are like a wash. But
Yeah. Yeah.
if you're an aggressive fighter warband, then it's obviously easier to use, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would put this underneath distraction and Nightmare in the Shadows, although Nightmare in the Shadows is restricted. So, um, there's that. And then I think it just depends what your use case is, because Center of Attention is more disruptive, but you have to push towards, whereas this will let you push away. So it's more flexible, and then Mirror Move, you have to use it as a reaction. So, um, you can't just use it whenever you want. So, yeah, I think it's worth considering. The other one that we got recently was the Hunger version of this, um, which I forget what it was called, but it also requires you to be um, within a few hexes. So that one is Irresistible Hunger. Choose a friendly fighter, give them 1 hunger, and then push one enemy fighter within 2 hexes towards. So that one also has to be towards. So this is a little bit more flexible, but you don't get the hunger. So, you know, maybe if you're playing the Crimson Court, you prefer that one, but otherwise you probably don't care too much.
Yeah, either way, this is a great card. It's still a
Yeah.
distraction. There's just a
Yeah.
range limitation, which probably means it's balanced. Um, but it's still going to come up often, whether you are
Yeah.
charging or getting charged. Because if you're holding objectives, people are going to try to get you off them, and then, vice versa. So I think you're going to see this card often.
What I'm looking forward to is when distraction rotates, then you'll have to play cards like this. So
Yeah,
that'll be nice.
yeah.
The next one is Maddening Drone. Choose one enemy fighter. That fighter's player picks one. Give that fighter one move token, or that fighter is uninspired and cannot be inspired. If they pick the latter, this effect persists until the end of the round, or until that fighter is taken out of action. When this effect ends, the chosen fighter is inspired. What do you think?
So I really like choose one cards, and this probably comes from the fact that I used to play Toxic Gases.
Yeah.
That was like the original choose, make your opponent make a bad decision. I don't know if there's ever been a card that is as good as that one. Um, but the interesting thing that's here is that very, very rarely is your opponent going to give a fighter a move token, and so they'll just take the uninspire because they'll auto inspire at the end of the round.
Right.
So the only way I see this is if your fighter that you're targeting, the enemy fighter, like is significantly worse on their uninspired side. When I say that, I mean like they lose a dodge or a block. They lose a
Mm-hmm.
defense die. They maybe have a different. They lose an ability. Things like that. Okay, fine. But even then, I'm never probably going to give my fighter a move token unless I don't want the fighter to move in general.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's tricky because obviously in the first round this might be just completely dead because you don't want to inspire them and they're not going to give a move token. So maybe if it's a warband that's able to just easily inspire itself, um, which I'm sure there is. I just can't think of a good example.
the
But
the only time I can see someone being like crap is if this is like one of their this is either like a Hrothgorn or a Moloch
yeah,
situation, or like this is my fight a Ripa, or this is my fighter with I put like 6 upgrades on them because I've lost some of my other fighters, and now you're
yeah,
pretty much making them a lot worse, and my potential investment can go away.
right. And that's when it starts to shine. I think is more in the second or maybe the third round,
Yeah.
where if you're able to play this on probably the leader, like Hrothgorn uninspiring in the second or third round, might mean that you can kill him. It
Yeah.
still seems like a little bit of a stretch, but Mog, I don't know. It's interesting. I wonder what a Mog player would do. Would they take the move token or would they uninspire? I guess it depends on like the positioning and stuff, because they can sort of deal with the move token.
Yeah.
But Ripa I think would just uninspire, and that makes him a lot easier to deal with. So um, I would say most leaders that don't have movement tricks and stuff are gonna really prefer not to uninspire, but they're not gonna take the move token. So
Yeah, I mean, like, because you play this on like a Vortimus or a Stormsire, they go to 1 defense and their attack
yeah.
only does 1 damage. So like that's a choice. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, like a lot of the cards we've talked about, meta call.
Yeah.
But I really do think if you time this right, this can win you a game.
I think it could. I think it's a really cool. I think it's really well designed because it has powerful effects. Um, but it's interesting because you're almost just never going to take the move token, so it almost might as well be uninspired, except for Moloch. So but that's neat. So
Yeah, it is neat.
the next one is Membranous Wings. +2 move to the next friendly fighter to make a charge action. This effect persists until the next friendly fighter's charge action. So another 2+ move.
Yeah. So I think Membranous Wings is certainly a good card, but it doesn't beat Outrun Death and Spectral Wings.
Right.
Because this is a forced on only a charge. Now, if you again maybe playing a card like Wild Hunt or Harrows, where you want to be moving really far, and then maybe don't mind charging along the way, then I don't think it matters. You could probably take all 3, but great card, outshined by some current cards in the pool right now though.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The next one is Spirit Comb. Choose one friendly fighter, heal 1 that fighter, or heal 2 that fighter if that fighter has 3 or more upgrades. What do you think?
So I think this is really good for that Voltron style of play, which anytime the Voltron play exists, the fighters with the most activation efficiency will receive the most benefit.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about Malok, Hrothgorn, Ripa, Morgok, maybe even like Gorath, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Where you're going to put a lot of investment in them. Even Bahanar, right? You'll put a lot of investment into them. They're going to have on average 3 to 5 upgrades a game. You don't want them to die. You get a free 2 heal. It's not bad. It's not bad at all.
Yeah.
If you take this, I think Ferocious Resistance goes in most of those, right?
Yeah.
So you play that. This is a great backup if you get a bad roll. But this coupled with Haughty Resistance, Ferocious Resistance, and Healing Potion means that your fighter will never die.
Yeah. Do you like this one better than Healing Potion? How do you think
I
about that?
do, because the Healing Potion is you have to roll a die.
Yeah.
Whereas like your big boy will have 3 upgrades on them in the second round if you're playing the game correctly.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's when you might die second round, right? So then you heal. 2 is not a lot, but it's sometimes enough.
Yeah, 2 is pretty solid. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a solid addition to some of the healing. I like it better than some of the other options. I like that it's better late game than early game. So, yeah, we'll see how much use it gets. The next one is Strength of the Swarm, +1 dice to the next attack action made by a friendly fighter if the attacker has 1 or more supporting fighters. In addition, +1 damage to the next attack action made by a friendly fighter if the attacker has 2 or more supporting friendly fighters. This effect persists until the next attack action made by a friendly fighter. What do you think?
So I don't necessarily like this card very much. I think if you're playing this, you're just trying to get +1 dice if you have a supporting fighter.
Yeah.
But then like you were talking to me about the other day, and you said, well, is it like what was the card you named?
Well, they just reprinted Determined Effort, which is +1 dice.
Yeah, and you were like, "Do you think Determined Effort's a good card?" I was like, "No," and you're like, and I was like, "You're right. It's not good."
Yeah. Because basically, what you're doing is you're taking a relatively low power, like I think as a community, I think we've just decided that the math of card value and dice value and stuff means that +1 dice is usually not worth a single card. So if you also require support, then it's just way harder. And so the only reason you take this one if you think you're going to have that double support to get the +1 dice and +1 damage, because then that has an immense value. It just has a pretty difficult condition. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting option. It just seems very hard to do unless you're playing like maybe Thorns or Gets.
Yeah, agreed. And even then, it's still there are just cards that are just better.
Most likely, yeah. Maybe you could make something work in Gets, but you have Inspired Attack and Punching Up, so I think you just do this. The next one is Swarming Advance. Choose 1 friendly fighter in enemy territory. Push up to 2 other friendly fighters 1 hex so that they are closer to the chosen fighter. This one's really cool, I think.
I think this is a great card.
Yeah.
I think this is a fantastic card.
Kind of like 2 steps forward.
It really is. I think it's more akin to a Drifting Advance in a way.
Yeah.
Like, because you have to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you're playing aggro, cool, you charge in, push. This is pretty much like this with like Tooth Dagger's reaction is insane on Mad Mob. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
And then if you're an objective player, I think, and that's why I made that Drifting Advance comparison. You can use this like Thorn's player use Drifting Advance. You can set it behind the objectives, Swarming Advance, score your 10 victory, Hidden Purpose, or whatever.
Yeah, you could. Yeah. I like that it requires the 1 friendly fighter in enemy territory.
Who's scoring you Swift Capture.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I like that. It's a cool design space, and I think it's pretty solid for most aggro. So I know I've been taking Sidestep in a fair amount of aggro decks, and now you probably just take this. And once you have a number of once you have like 3 or 4 fighters in enemy territory, it starts becoming really flexible because you can pick any of them.
Yes, but even then, just cool. Like if you're just trying to jump into enemy territory, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And this can help offset terrible board setups as well.
Yeah. The next one is Swarming Strike. The first friendly fighter to make an attack action in the next activation is considered to have 1 additional supporting fighter. So basically an accuracy boost there.
It's not better than determined effort though.
I don't think it is. There are some interesting like combos, I guess you could do with this, with some of the other like support effects, but it strikes me as just kind of hard to do.
Agreed. I also think it's like a support is considered a half die, not even like half a dice plus
Um,
half dice, 0.5 dice.
it's better. I think it's better for swords
100% better for
than it
swords,
is.
which is the only reason I would maybe consider it.
Yeah,
But but I don't know many
it's
warbands that are
actually
this.
really good. It's actually really good for if you're going from Fury. If you have 3 Fury, it's actually really good. It's like better. It's better than +1 dice, I think.
Right, but I don't know if there are very many warbands that are all hidden on Fury.
Yeah, yeah. It's not bad. It's just I don't know. I think there are probably better options.
Yeah.
Um, but maybe it opens up stuff like the strength of the swarm if you really want to try to do something like that. Um, or some of those objectives for having fighters next to each other. Maybe but a little bit niche. The
Mm-hmm.
next one is the last gambit here, Symbiote's Call. Pick one feature token within one hex of one or more friendly fighters, then pick one. Flip that token or push one friendly fighter one hex so they are in the same hex as that token. I like this one a lot.
Yeah, I really do too. Um, Pretty much, if you're trying to hold objectives, is a free sidestep for you.
Yep.
If you're trying to feed the Beast Grave, or you can flip a token. If you're trying to counter feed the Beast Grave, you can reflip the token back over. So I think there's a lot of really good synergy and use cases with this card, whether you are um, holding objectives or attempting to destroy the objectives. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
I think also, yeah, I think like the fact that you can have a sidestep, a symbiote's call, and then maybe another sidestep is really good.
Yeah, I really like that it works that way because if you're playing an objective deck, one of the things you're probably afraid of right now is Feed the Beastgrave. You won't see it very often, but when you do, it's like a nightmare. So if you take this, then most of the time it's just a sidestep, but then you have the extra utility of being able to flip something back, which will really mess up Feed the Beastgrave because they don't usually have a ton of extra flippability um, in the deck. Like it's usually they'll usually complete it in the third round sometime. So you can make them work harder and be able to score some of your own stuff, which I like. So very cool. And that's it for the gambits.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite one?
Um, I guess my favorite from just a pure strength perspective is Swarming Advance.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I do have. I think the design on some of these is really cool though.
yeah. I think
Like
Symbiote's
not.
Call is probably my favorite.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's probably the second best, or if not tied for best on the set. Um, but I really like how like there's a more balanced distraction. You can destroy upgrades. Sometimes you can roll, making your opponents take choices, rolling
Yeah,
critical successes. So like that's really cool to me is the fact that like a lot of these cards are like maybe not good at first glance, but they're not bad at first glance either. And then trying to figure out how you slot them in because I can definitely see you winning a tournament with Acidic Strike in your deck, or even a Hidden Sting, or even a Hypnotic Buzz, or even
yeah,
a Membranous Wings. I mean, like you can really do that, um,
yeah,
and I think that's a really cool part of this deck, or at least these set of cards within the deck.
yeah. I would say that most of these are like very playable. Like this isn't an awful gambit deck for 10 cards. And I guess
No,
that's sort of the intention here is that it would be a sort of playable by itself, and I think that it is. Um, I think that competitively you'll see some of these cards used more than others, but most of them have a use. So I like that. Um, I think Swarming Advance and Symbiote's Call are probably the two that we'll see the most of, but Hidden Sting, Acidic Strike, Hypnotic Buzz, I think they all have their place. Spirit Cone. So
yeah.
cool.
Okay, well let's jump to the universal upgrades. I think this is where probably the strongest cards in the set lie.
Yeah.
And we're starting off very strong here with augmented limbs. This fighter is a quarry. If this fighter is a quarry, this fighter's range one attack actions at +1 dice.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically it's Strength of Terror, but it's range one. Um, Still incredible if you're range 1.
Yeah, incredible card. Helps with quarry scoring as well.
Yeah,
This is an A
that's really
plus in
nice.
my book. Fantastic card.
Yeah, it opens up the quarry objective holding situation that we talked about last time um, even more. So, yeah,
Yeah,
just it's great. It's great.
very nice.
Yep.
Next one is Chitin Scimitar. It
Yep.
is a melee weapon, 3 fury, 2 damage with cleave. If you roll no successes, you can reroll 1 dice in the attack roll. What do you think?
I like this one in general. 3 fury with cleave is pretty accurate for a weapon upgrade. Um, and then the reroll ability probably makes this um, about as accurate as 3 smash in general, I guess. I don't. I think the problem with this card is it's competing against the 3 smash versions of weapons. But I think it's decent.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. And fun fact that even if it has cleave, which I know doesn't really matter to you, I put in my review. Even Jonathan can't hate on
I
this one.
saw that.
Yeah. So
I mean, I consider this cleave to be free. Like, I don't think you're
yeah,
really paying for it. And
no.
so,
You're paying for a great weapon that can re-roll a die if you miss.
yeah, in the situation where the cleave is applicable, I think this is a solid weapon. I just think it's competing against like the silent sword or things like that, which I think are
The
a
silent sword.
little bit better.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I still think overall, I think we both agree. Pretty solid card here.
yeah.
Nice weapon. Next one is Chitin Spear.
Hmm.
Melee. No, sorry. Range 2, 2 smash, 2 damage. If you roll no successes, you can reroll 1 attack and the 1 dice in the attack roll. What do you think?
Yeah, another solid one. If this one had cleave, I would like it even more. Um, but
Ooh, hot take from Jonathan.
I just think that it's not better than the um, Soul Tooth spear. We have a Soul Tooth spear, right?
I think the Soul Tooth and the Amber Bone variants are better.
Yeah. So that's really its only weakness is just comparing it to other cards. There's not anything wrong with this attack action.
No.
Um, so
Like if you don't own the other two, you can take this and I wouldn't judge you.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah. Next one is Collector reaction after this fighter's activation, in which this fighter makes an attack action that takes an adjacent enemy fighter out of action. Give this fighter 1 upgrade from your hand. What do you think?
Um, I think this is like a little bit of a trap card. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if you get this out early, then you'd think that it would give you a lot of efficiency, but most likely your glory is going to outpace the number of upgrades in your hand. So you just don't need it.
Yeah.
It's really only like right at the beginning of the game when you have like 3 upgrades and 2 glory that like it would even start to be useful, and then so it's just not worth the deck slot because
Yeah, and it takes a glory to even
yeah,
use the ability.
exactly.
It's just it's no bueno.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, next one is Extruded Snare. It's a range 3, 3 fury, 1 damage attack action upgrade. If this attack action succeeds, give the target 1 move token, then discard this card. What do you think?
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's a good one.
This one plus the 2 nets that we have that give charge tokens. Um, this is a lot of control on attack actions.
Yeah, you can take 3 nets. This is
Yeah.
probably the best one in terms of range.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
the
it's
range
3
3.
range. And you also don't discard it unless it succeeds.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I didn't
So
notice
this is
that.
why
Yeah.
I think this is the best net out of the
Mm-hmm.
bunch. Because Soul Tooth net, you get 1 shot. If you miss, oh well. Barbladden net, you have to be a hunter, which
Right.
is not that big a deal nowadays. But if
Yeah.
you are like playing Skaven, you take this and Soul Tooth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Very it's really
it's a good
good.
card. But
Yeah.
interestingly, Soul Tooth gives
Charge.
move a charge token, and Barbladden gives a charge token. So
Yeah.
move token is pretty solid, and that's probably why they got the extra range because it's not as punishing if it goes off.
Yeah, it's still really strong though.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
the
that's
range 3 kind of makes up for the move token because the main weakness would be the range 2 fighters that you're giving the move token to.
agreed.
Um, a little bit worse against Mala because of his shenanigans, but great in general. Great against crushes. Um, So very good.
Yes. But nice card. I like it. Next one is Regenerative Cycle. The
Yeah.
reaction after this fighter's activation, discard one or more power cards. Heal X this fighter, where X is the number of power cards you discarded.
Oh
What do you
boy.
think?
I mean, this is basically the best heal that we've seen. Um, at least it can be.
It can be.
Um, and
I
I
think it's the
think
most balanced heal we've ever seen.
I think I disagree with you there a little bit. I think that when you need to use this card, it wins you the game, and you don't care. You don't care how many cards you throw away. Like if you're playing Mollog or Hrothgorn or Krusha and you just need to heal 3 or 4, you don't care. So you're just gonna equip it and then charge, and then you'll heal, and you'll happily
Interestingly,
throw everything away. You know?
sure, I also think a lot of the cards that you need to win those games with said fighters are upgrades, and
Yeah.
that's half your deck. So
Yeah.
depending on draw order, this could really, and this is an upgrade as well. So you
Hmm.
have to have this equipped as well. So I mean, you're right. I think either way, this card can win you games.
Yeah.
Um, I just think that it's so competitive to build a deck nowadays in terms of like what cards you're giving, like adding to your roster or your deck.
Hmm.
That for you to throw, like if you told me I have to discard like a great strength and a great fortitude to win a game, yeah, I'd do it. But if I had to do that in order to survive and then try to kill your fighters, like that's still good, right? So it's a
Yeah.
good card, but I don't like throwing away my cards, me personally.
Yeah.
So my
No, that's
personal
true.
opinion is this is lower, but I do like the design of it because I think it's fair.
Yeah, I think I see that. I think that there's going to be some decks where this just works really well. I think there's going to be. I mean, we already see to the end and a lot of card draw in the game right now. So this could theoretically be like, maybe you're just throwing. Maybe you're healing 3 or 4. Maybe you're healing 5. It's just very powerful. Like once it goes down on a fighter, I'm not really sure you try to kill that fighter anymore. You know. Just because they have it in their pocket. And obviously, like the best example is Mollog. Like if Mollog gets this in the first round, like you probably just don't try anymore. you know.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
Um,
true because this and ferocious resistance means he'll never die.
yeah. And I guess for everybody else, like Mollog aside, I guess the fact that they have to activate before they use this does limit it a little bit. Um, but I think it's incredibly powerful. I think it's a really good card. But you're right that it does reduce the amount of other things that you do that round, which is cool. And you can't like put it on somebody that already has a charge token, which I think is good. I mean, you can put it on them, but you're not going to be able to use it.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
like
I
that
I
about
just I think it's I don't disagree that it's good when the heal works.
it.
I just don't know if I would ever be comfortable pulling the trigger on the heal
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah. No, it is expensive in that regard, but I think that it's just one of those cards where like when you need to use it, it's worth it. Um, and I feel like it would probably happen. That would happen pretty often. So, but maybe there's just enough other heals in the game right now that you don't need it. That's completely possible. But
Yeah, something to keep an eye out for in the future.
yeah, it just doesn't cost anything. Like if your leader gets hit for 3 damage right at the beginning and you have 1 glory to put the upgrade on, then you can just say, well, I'm going to dump these cards and then get him healed back up. So it's I don't know. I think it's pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean, you might be right. I mean, using cards as a resource could be cool here. Um,
Yeah, maybe you even take
I
extra cards in that deck. An extra card draw.
oh, that's
I don't
hilarious.
know.
Now you've lost me. Let's go to the next one. Savage Soldier.
It's a
This
good
fighter
one.
has the following cumulative benefits determined by how many upgrades they have. 2 plus, 2 or more upgrades. They get +1 dice to their range and attack actions. 4 or more upgrades. The fighter's attack actions have cleave and ensnare. Ironically, there's a creeper on the art, and they hit at range 2.
Yeah.
But the card only works for range 1. So +1 dice and cleave and ensnare if you have 4 upgrades, which you probably will.
Yeah, notably the Cleave and Ensnare do work on ranged attacks, so that's something.
That is true.
Um,
Something to consider.
yeah. Um, so I mean, this is a really good card. I don't think there's any. I don't think that's really debatable. It's. I don't think it's as good as what's the one we just saw, Augmented Limbs. In general,
No,
I don't think it's because. I mean, basically, it just isn't because they're the first effect is the same,
correct.
but you can just put it on as the first upgrade. So, but they're pretty close, I would say. You know, what's the chance that this is going to be the first upgrade? It's also going to depend on the warband that you're playing. Um, the second one, Cleave and Ensnare. I think Cleave and Ensnare is great. It's math wise, it's usually +1 dice, and it also completely shuts down guard. So I like that. And getting to 4 upgrades is a little bit harder than 3 for like Deserve Confidence, but it's not that hard. And you get the other effect. So probably the biggest limitation to this one is just the range 1 part of it. Like that's going to be the reason why certain warbands don't take it. Is the range 1. But for range 1 warbands, it's really good.
Yeah, I think if you're ever playing a warband where both of these conditions apply, this is a very very good card.
Yeah.
You're everyone's doing Voltron, everyone's gonna stack upgrades. This plus Deserve Confidence plus like whatever the hell else you want to put on here means that your fighter is gonna do some crazy things on the battlefield, offensively and defensively.
Yeah.
Um, it's actually gonna be quite savage. So
And
I
even if
think
you're
it's
playing like a bigger warband like Godsworn Hunt, like the chances of you having another upgrade to put on are pretty reasonable. So
yeah,
you
because
you probably
exactly because it
consider it
counts for
there.
itself. So you maybe like throw like a great strength on, you upgrade
Yeah.
Grundon, and the opponent's like, okay, well I'll get a reroll on defense, and then you're like, okay, well now I'm at 4 dice with Grundon or 3 dice or
Yeah.
whatever. So it works. It works in a lot of ways. It works in Vamps, Mad Mob,
Yeah.
um, Crushes, Kagras. I mean, you name it. It's good.
Yeah. It's strong. Sure.
Yeah. Next one is Silent Armor. It's a silent relic. So I think this is
Yeah.
the third one we've seen. We've seen the Helm and the Sword before this
Mm-hmm.
card. So this is the Armor. Fighter is a quarry. If this fighter is a quarry, this fighter has the following reaction. After this fighter's move action, remove all guard tokens from enemy fighters adjacent to this fighter. They also get +1 wound if this fighter has 2 more relics. What do you think?
Yeah. So I like the relic bonus. +1 wounds is always good. And 2 is a pretty achievable number. So I like that. The reaction is very niche, to the point of it, you just can't really count on that.
I don't think you play this card for the reaction.
Yeah. And it doesn't
This
counter something like Buried Instinct because of the timing
no.
on it. So they
This
have to
this
already have the guard.
this card is only taken if you want +1 wound and if you're running a bunch of relics that are silent in order to activate other silent relic effects.
I agree. Yeah.
There's no other reason you play this card.
Right. Right.
And the +1 wound is really nice. It's
That's
very
true.
good.
Yep.
Very good. Next one is another silent relic. Silent Ring. Fighter's quarry. If this fighter's quarry has following reaction. Reaction after this fighter's activation. If you have 3 or fewer power cards in your hand, draw 1 power card. Also +1 dice to this fighter's range when attack actions. If this fighter has 2 or more silent relics, what do you think?
Um, so I like this one. Um, so in general, basically for everyone except Moloch, or like maybe Rothkorn, or a leader where you think you're going to get tons of actions, I think this is okay. Like basically, if you're only going to get 1 card per round, I think this is okay. I prefer like the Mortis relic. I think spending the glory is worth that extra card. Even or it's not even really an extra card. It's like it is an extra card, but then you have to throw it away. So I don't like it as much as the Mortis relic for like the one use, but for the bigger fighters where you think you're going to be able to get to use it more than once, then I think maybe I start to like it the same or more. Um, and then I like the +1 dice to range 1, but I'm not sure how many of the other relics I like. So I'm a little mixed on this one.
Yeah, I think so. First of all, I think if you want to play silent relics, you take the ring, the helm, and the armor. If you
I like the
need a
sword
weapon,
too.
the sword is good if you need an attack action upgrade.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I think you need it because it gives you ensnare,
Yeah.
and then you get that +1 damage in no man's territory. But I don't know. I'm not really feeling it. I like the fact that the helm reduces a crit to a regular success.
Yeah.
I like how you can get an extra wound with the armor. I like how the helm also gives you a reroll on your defense rolls, and then this gives you additional dice on the attack rolls. So your fighter becomes pretty tanky and pretty accurate, which I think is really cool. Um, I do like the reaction a lot because it just makes it even easier because essentially right now everyone takes Duel of Wits, Crown of the Dead, and then either Quick Search or a Natural Truce.
Yeah.
So now you replace a Natural Truce with discard because on average you'll get 2 per game from this card, from this reaction. You're not giving your opponent 1 card. And then you always take Duel of Wits because it's free and it's good. And
Yeah.
then you take Crown of the Dead, and now you don't have to spend a restricted slot on Quick Search.
Mm. Yeah, you could
That's
take
why
both. Yeah.
or you could take both, but that's why I like this card.
No, I mean
I
both
don't.
the crown and this. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying exactly. So, that's why I think it's such a good card is because it's not better than Crown, but with Crown it's insane.
Yeah, that's true. I can see that. I don't know if at that point you start taking more Mortis relics or Silent relics, but maybe you just don't need to if you're doing a card draw deck. Yeah.
Yeah, I personally the only Mortis relic I think worth taking right now is Crown of the Dead.
Hmm. Yeah, because we have enough
I
other push effects that maybe you don't
yeah,
need command anymore
I don't care to activate Morgok 4 times with
or
his action to push
domination
or
or whatever.
pull someone around. Yeah. So, I, for me,
Yeah,
that might be a hot take, but that's why I like it.
I think that makes sense.
Last card, Swift Soldier. This fighter has the following cumulative benefits determined by how many upgrades they have. If they have 2 or more upgrades, +1 move. 4 more upgrades, +2 move. What do you think?
I don't like this one very much.
Card art is cool.
Yeah, the ever hanged, I guess, hanging out.
Yeah, no bueno, sir.
Yeah, I mean, 4 upgrades for 2 move. We just have better versions. So
Just
yeah,
take Savage Speed. You don't even need
yeah,
4 upgrades at that time.
yeah.
Cool.
I guess there
Well,
had
I
to be a
think
dud eventually.
yeah. I mean, there were some great upgrades like tailing that out, right? And it
Yeah.
started off pretty strong too. So actually, I think we thought all of these were good except Collector and Swift Soldier. So the
Yeah.
upgrades are pretty
Yeah.
freaking good. Jonathan, what are your thoughts on your standout of the bunch of upgrades we've just went over?
For me, I think it's going to be. I think regenerative cycle is going to be the one that we remember, or this is the one I'm going to keep my eye on.
You make me
Um,
feel like I'm sleeping on it just a little bit.
I think it's pretty good. I think obviously we're going to see augmented limbs, but
Yeah.
uh, regenerative cycle is probably my hot take, I guess.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think it's really strong.
it's good. I don't disagree. I think I like Savage Soldier
Yeah.
and Extruded Snare and Silent Armor and Silent Ring and Chitin Scimitar. Yeah. They're all good. I like Savage Soldier. If I was an Underworlds rapper, that'd be my name.
I think I'm gonna definitely use augmented limbs, extruded snare, regenerative cycle. I'm not sure about the relics yet. I have to think about those some more. Savage shoulder I think is good. I just think I'm gonna take augmented limbs first because I don't want to have to do the upgrade stacking, and getting to 4 is kind of hard. But I might take both of them, and then I might just not even bother with strength of terror, which opens up another restricted slot for something else. So it's gonna depend on the deck, but it's a we just have a ton of accuracy right now, and we
Yeah.
haven't had a restricted list in what seems like forever. So
I'll tell you why I like the silent stuff off the
yeah.
podcast, and then we'll share that after my
Oh,
competitive ambitions either
sneaky.
crash or continue on. So
Okay, sounds
um,
good.
might be messing around with some stuff in WTC right now. Speaking of
Ooh.
WTC, quick side tangent. I made it out of a group with 3 Morgoks, including myself, and a Seraphon Stalker, which is Val, which
Yeah.
was really cool. Val and I both made it out of the group stages, and now we're in the top 32, trying to make it to the top 16. I wanted to give a huge shout out to our patrons. If you exclude me, 10 of our patrons made it to the group of the top 32.
Wow. Wow, that's almost a
So
third. Yeah.
that's insane. Almost a third of the people competing are Team Path to Glory extended family here. So love
Very
you
cool.
guys, and it just goes to show that um, we run deep. We are mob.
Very cool.
So yeah, very very cool. I was very proud of that. I actually went through the list and was like, that's a patron, that's a patron, that's a patron, and then I typed the number and I was like, hold on, man, oh crap, I missed this person, you know. So very cool stuff. So overall, for me, I think should you buy this? Yeah, I do think you should, and I'm not saying that because Games Workshop gives me free stuff. Um, I'm saying it because I think there's some crazy upgrades in here, and there's some solid gambits in here,
hmm
and I think you can maybe find one or two upgrade objectives that you need. That's my personal take.
Yeah. I think the objectives are definitely the weak spot, but like
Mm-hmm.
particular like if you're an old player, you're gonna buy it because you gotta buy everything. If you're a
Gotta
new
catch 'em
player,
all.
I do think this is a pretty good buy because of the quality of the gambits and the upgrades. Um, Pretty much everything works. You can put it in a deck. It's not bad. There might be a niche card that's a little bit better. In one of the other packs, maybe in Beastgrave, maybe something in a Warband you don't want. So, or don't want right away, or so. I think it's a good buy from that perspective. Um, I don't know what I think about it as being a complete deck, um, because I don't think there's that many Warbands where this works in a cohesive way.
I
Um,
think this was the safest way in which they can say this deck works with every warband.
yeah, it would be interesting to see. I don't know. Like, I
So
guess I could see like a store tournament where everybody just had to use these cards, and then they got to pick different warbands. That would be interesting. That'd be an interesting way to like launch this product or something. If people were playing in real life. Um,
yeah, because like I was thinking like maybe you can't score a stinging strike because some fighters don't have a ranged attack action, but the net's in here. That's probably why it's range 3. It's because
yeah,
stinging strike is a range 3 attack. It's going to score off that. So
yeah, yeah. I
that's really
mean,
funny.
I don't know. Those objectives are some strange things. So I don't know what that
Yeah.
game would look like or what warband would be best at it, but interesting to try it.
I mean, you could do it with a Iron Hail Rapid Reload first round activation.
Yeah, yeah.
That you could do it.
They're not
That's
bad.
that's pretty reliable. Or like a Daco 2 shots with your arrow. Hopefully you're inspired, so you're hitting for 3/3. You know.
Well, I
Um,
don't think the second attack would count.
it's a
So,
reaction to activation.
yeah, which means that it's not in the activation. So, and I don't think it
Yeah.
works, but I don't know.
Maybe the
Yeah.
reactions don't work then.
Either
Hmm.
way, I think I'm glad to have more cards.
For
I feel like
sure.
we
For
do
sure.
start to have a lot of cards now. Um,
Yeah. Well, I think we got Essentials Pack, Crimson Court Universals, Mad Mob Universals, Silent Menace,
yeah,
all in
yeah,
like 3 weeks,
it's a lot.
4 weeks. It's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So we have
It's a lot.
and there's a lot of overlap with things like accuracy and we haven't got any more health in a while, which is probably a good thing, but or damage. But yeah, the accuracy in particular and the healing, I think we're starting to see a lot of. So that'll
Yeah.
interesting
Well,
to see what that does to the meta.
you just jinxed us. So, well, look, let's. I think that covers the warband there, or not the warband, the deck. And overall, we think it's pretty good. You should get it. If we didn't get it for free, we would have bought it.
Yeah,
Don't know if it's because we're completionists, but I think there's some good cards in here. I think worst case scenario, you buy this for augmented limbs. Augmented limbs,
yeah.
like it's worth it just for augmented limbs.
And
We've got
the push card, Swarming Advance, I think is
yeah,
pretty
it's
tasty.
good. Is good.
Yeah,
Is good. All right. Well, we've got 2 patron questions to round out the episode.
great.
So, Jonathan, first question for you. Hi there. It's from Mr. Teacher. In the light of the arrival of the Silent Relics, do you think they're going to have a similar impact on the meta to that of the Mortis Relics? If so, logic dictates that part of that set could be restricted. Second question is, do you see that happening? Which ones do you consider to have more possibilities of getting hit by a far list? Thanks a lot. Keep the great content coming. Thanks, Mr. Teacher.
um, so far, I don't think any of them are really that good. Um,
So let's
because
break the question down.
yeah,
Right. Do you think they have a similar impact to the Mortis relics?
so I'm going to say no, um, because I don't think they're. Um, I don't think silent armor is worth taking at all because I think there are better ways to get +1 wound. And so, really, the only reason to take it is to activate another silent relic. But I think there are enough other silent relics that you'll probably just take a different one. We have seen people taking the crown. Um, that's what it's
The
called,
helm?
the crown, the helm. Um, but I'm not convinced that it's that great. I don't know. So far, I'm just not that impressed by the silent relics. I think the fact that they make you a quarry is something that is meaningful. And I think that in a absolute stillness and like a quarry style deck, I think there's something there. But I don't think they're anywhere near as just like the raw power of the Mortis relics. Being able to just draw card after card after card and then push, push, push is much more powerful. And then the Silent Ring, I think you've sold me on that one a little bit. I think it is pretty good. But you do have to keep playing your cards in order to get under 3 in order to draw back up to, or get to 3, I guess, to draw back up to 4. So I think that's a little bit limiting. Maybe you want to do that anyway, but um, I think it's a little bit more limiting. So my initial impression would be that these are all fine, and I don't know
So
if
you
it's
don't think any of them would be restricted?
not that I can think of so far. If we get one more and it's like by itself, like an A tier card, then I'll probably change my mind, because then the stacking bonuses start to get really good.
Right.
But currently, I guess I feel like each one is worth like half of a card right now, and then the bonus starts making it worth like maybe the two together are worth 3 cards. So I don't like having to wait on that investment, if that makes sense.
Fair enough.
Um, that's kind of where I'm at. What do you
Yeah.
think?
I think I disagree.
Okay.
Um, I think if you want to compare this to Mortis relics, I think Mortis relics are stronger. There's no doubt in anyone's mind. I think.
Yeah.
I think there are certain scenarios in which the silent relics, in conjunction with other universal cards out there, can be quite powerful and rival, if not exceed, the power of Mortis relic stacking.
Hmm.
Um, so I think for me, I think the silent relics all offer something that are of value. Do I think that they have a similar impact on the meta as Mortis relics? No. Do I think that they're going to be restricted? No. I agree with you there. I think on the power level of the cards is where I will slightly disagree with you. I would challenge you and say that the sword is great for any sort of warband that wants a weapon.
Yeah, I agree with
It
that.
has a, the ring is good for draw strategies, and the helm is good for keeping your fighters more survivable because it turns a critical success into a regular success.
Hmm.
And then additionally, um, it gives you a reroll if you have more than one, and then the armor gives you +1 wound. So you can stick the armor and the helm, and you can have +1 wound, cancel out the first crit, and a reroll. You can do the armor and the ring, and you can draw a bunch of cards and get a movement reroll, and then you can do the sword and the armor, and you get or the sword and the ring, +1 dice on the attack. It's 4 smash, potentially doing 3 damage.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that there's some really good scenarios, and I think the silent relics are very similar to the way I feel about this pack. Situationally fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that if what you're looking for is a quarry strategy and you're going to really lean into that synergy, then I think it makes them better,
Yeah,
as well. Maybe it even makes, builds like getting kills with quarry, like the Dread Paget can do a little bit. Maybe it makes that, maybe you start to open up that kind of stuff, and that's pretty
that's a good
interesting.
point. It's very true.
Um, so yeah,
So
I think they're cool. I think that they're balanced in a much, um, much
more
better
palatable
way.
fashion.
Yeah, like the value that you're getting is in general one card's worth, maybe a little bit less initially, maybe a little bit more once you start stacking, which I don't mind. Um,
I think the Mortis relics are broken, so
yeah.
it's really hard to compare like a set of compounding effects on upgrades to them because they're
Right.
fundamentally broken.
Yeah, I mean those are like basically like they don't even need their bonuses to be as good as they like to be great cards, and then they have the incredible bonuses. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, those cards were made for Arena Mortis and should have stayed there.
Yeah, it does
Um,
seem like that.
Next question is from Dylan Paul, an aspiring champion. Thank you, Dylan, for supporting us.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is a meaty enough question for the next episode or not, but here goes. How many plus move cards do you typically include when taking all 3 speed objectives? Any lists: Gathered Momentum, Cover Ground, Wing of Death. And how many of them do you prefer to be ploys, Spectral Wings, versus upgrades, Savage Speed? I've found trouble using the upgrades because they're not very helpful in my first hand, which is when I really want to see the speed package objectives. Interested in your thoughts. Love the podcast and blog. Keep up the great work. Thanks, Dylan. You're the best. That's really kind of you. Um, I play the speed package a lot, um, and I think for me, I'm very comfortable with 2 plays and upgrade.
Yep.
Very comfortable with that.
Yeah, and I guess we did just get the third option. If you want to take 3 gambits, I guess you could take Malcolm Grace, but I'm not a big fan of that one. Um, but I think I'm actually to the point where in my decks nowadays, if I can avoid taking the speed package, I will, because of how much it takes out of my gambit deck.
Yeah, that's one thing I've been
Um,
thinking about too. Actually, it's like, do I need Spectral Wings, Not Run Death? Because I kind of want to take these other cards, but I can't
yeah.
because I need these to score these. So,
It starts being a lot of like real estate. Um,
great
you
way
know,
to put it.
it's 20% of your deck. Um, but if you are going to do it, and I think it is pretty powerful for a lot of warbands, then I think 2 and 1 is the sweet spot. If you have some card draw in there, I like it even more. I have
Yeah,
taken Proud Runner as like a 4th one in some decks. And then I'll also take Surge of Aggression in those decks. And then you kind of have 4 speed cards if you're using Proud Runner to get it. Um, and
because
that
then
can
you
be
can
really
get
good.
the Surge of Aggression too.
Yeah.
That's a good shout. I wonder if you can just do Proud Runner, Spectral Wings, Outrun Death.
I think if you have 5 move, you absolutely can.
Yeah,
Like Grimwatch and Skaven and Wild Hunt.
the Bat just does it for free.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think of that, probably, I don't know how many of those guys really want to lean into primacy like that. So,
Yeah,
but
well, that's a good point. But Dylan, I think you're good. I think you're doing it right. I think you're maybe getting unlucky with some draw,
yeah.
but don't be afraid to throw away hands when they're bad. And of course,
Yeah.
um, of course, put some draw tech in there. Duel of Wits should be in every deck, honestly. So
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, I would, if that first hand doesn't have Duel of Wits or one of the ways to score your speed package, just to toss it away. It almost doesn't
yeah,
matter what else it does have. Yeah. Because,
yep,
like he
agreed,
says, the
agreed,
the you want to see those in the first round. So,
100%, 100%.
and that's another reason why I think if you can move away from it, it's worth considering because if you don't draw them in the first round or maybe the second, sometimes they can be hard to score. Particularly Winged Death, I think, if you don't have ranged fighters, um, can be kind of hard. Sometimes everything's too close and you can't make that 6 hex charge. Cover Ground and Gather Momentum are a lot easier. But
Agreed,
yeah, I also think there's
agreed,
maybe a
100%.
possibility of not even taking all 3 of them. Maybe you just take 2. Maybe you just
I've
take
been cutting them lately.
yeah,
The last 3 decks I built don't have the speed package. They have Spectral Wings in them, or
yeah,
Outrun Death, depending on if I'm playing with Corey stuff. But
yeah. And Outrun Death is great for that reason as well. It goes with the Victimize
Outrun
really
Death
well.
just pretty much says make this fighter a Corey.
Yeah, yeah,
Half the time I use it, and I'm just like, I love that. Thanks. That's 3 glory in the end phase. Um,
yeah. Very cool.
Cool. Well, I think that does it. I think for 32 cards, this has been quite a long episode. So, very excited that we've found our ability to drone on and on again. I think that's exciting. But
Yeah.
as always, my friend Jonathan, you can close us out.
All right. Once again, thank you to our patron supporters. If you'd like to join our current patrons, you can do so at patreon.com/path to glory. You can find all of our blog content on pathtoglorypodcast.com. If you have any feedback, questions, or comments, let us know on Facebook, Twitter, or Discord at Path to Glory Podcast. Please rate and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen. As always, thanks for listening, and we wish you the best of luck on your path to glory.
So if you could augment any one of your limbs, and don't be juvenile about this. If you could augment any of your limbs, what limb would you augment? How would you do
Hmm.
it? And why?
I like the spikes that he has, but that might be weird.
I think your girlfriend or your fiance would hate that. And your
Yeah,
dog, you couldn't pet your dog.
that's true.
So that's it? You're not going to augment anything?
I guess I would augment. I don't know. I guess I could like always have a watch. That would be an augmentation. Be a bone watch.
Oh man, I would augment
I guess you
so I
could
could
just
be
get swole, right? I don't know.
I would just be taller. I would be like 6 feet. 6 feet, six
Oh,
I'd be 6'2".
gotcha.
I'd say I'm jumping to 6'2". I'm
Okay.
happy. Augment that.
I was thinking it would be like it'd have to be a mutation, like in the picture. That guy's got
Oh.
bones. That guy's got bone blades.
Well, I could do a mutation. I could like do um I don't even know. I'm just gonna end the episode here.
Bye.